One day at school, every class is packed except for a new teacher, Justine, whose room is empty except for one student, Alex Lee, because the night before, every kid woke up at 2:17, got out of bed, and headed into the dark, never to return. In the morning, the police start looking into it. Since many student homes have surveillance cameras, they easily track when the kids leave, confirming they went out on their own. They question Justine, but she claims she knows nothing. They also ask Alex if the students are pulling any pranks, but he says he's clueless about that. As the police keep investigating, the school ends up closed for a month. With no leads, the school authorities decide to reopen for the other students. Before they do, they hold a big meeting to discuss the situation. Now, let's focus on Justine. A councilman is giving a speech on how to handle the crisis when one of the students' fathers, Archer, stands up and demands to know why there has been no progress in the investigation. He questions why they aren't interrogating Justine more, since it's only her students who are missing. Others in the crowd get riled up, wanting answers too. Justine steps up to speak to the crowd, expressing that she's just as confused and upset as they are. But the parents are furious and accuse her of being involved in the kid's disappearance. The school principal, Marcus, defends her, stating she's a victim too. However, the parents are still very angry, so they have to escort her to her car, warning her to stay away until things settle down. Justine leaves that place and heads to a liquor store, buying a bunch of drinks. She's been getting threatening calls from unknown numbers. Once back at her house, she checks everywhere because she feels like someone is tailing her. While she is in the house, someone knocks on the door. Scared, she asks who's there, but there's no response. She peeks through the peephole and looks out the window, but sees no one. Just as she's about to head back, there's another loud knock. This time, she steps outside but finds no one around. However, she notices someone has written "witch" on her car. The next morning, she tries to scrub it off but can't manage it. She returns to school, but the principal suggests she take some time off since the investigation is still in progress. She reports the previous night's events to the police, where she spots Paul, the guy she has a crush on. Later that night, she meets up with Paul. It turns out they had a fling, and they discuss the recent happenings. She's drinking heavily, while Paul is reluctant, but eventually gives in to her pressure. The next morning, Paul wakes up next to her. She offers him a ride and inquires about the investigation status. He tells her to just let the investigators handle it. Back at school, she follows Alex to his house. She sees him go inside and knocks on the door, but no one answers. So, she checks around the back and notices the windows are covered with paper. When she tries to peek inside, she's shocked to see his parents sitting there, completely still. She tells Marcus about it, insisting he should check on Alex, but Marcus advises her to stay out of it since things are still tense. To reassure her, he promises to call Alex's parents. Later, she goes to the liquor store where she gets attacked by Paul's wife, Donna, who knows about last night. Later, she is at her home, dozing off, and dreams she's back in school. All the students are in the classroom, also asleep. One of them wakes up and gives her a strange look. She jolts awake and spots a bizarre woman on her ceiling. This time, she finally wakes up for real. The next morning, she faces Alex outside his house, expressing her concern for him. He tells her not to follow him and rushes back inside. She knocks on the door, but no one answers, so she decides to wait in his car. That night, she dozes off in the car. When the door opens, a woman steps out with scissors and approaches the car. She snips a piece of her hair and then leaves. Now, we shift to Archer's story. He's on his own quest to find his son, replaying the video of his son running away repeatedly. He visits the police station to speak with Police Captain Ed, who assures him they're doing their best. But Archer presses for answers on why Justine isn't being investigated more thoroughly. Ed responds that she's at home and the kids left of their own accord. That same night, the townspeople gather and Archer takes a stand, while everyone else is following Justine. He sneaks into his car and tracks her to her house. The paint on the back of his car shows that he's the one who rode on her car. Later that night, he has a nightmare where he sees his son fleeing, and he chases after him, arriving at a house. He goes inside and finds his son asleep, but he's not speaking. Suddenly, his son morphs into a strange woman as he wakes from the nightmare. In the morning, he decides to figure out where his son might have gone. He marks a line on a map. Then, he heads over to another student's house, the one who has gone missing. He asks the mother if he can check the footage from that night. She refuses, but he waits around, and when the father arrives, he asks him, and the father shows him the footage. He then starts to trace his path. He draws another line from their house and discovers an intersection. He goes to investigate the area, but finds nothing useful until he spots Justine at a gas station. He approaches and confronts her. They start arguing when Justine notices Marcus, bloodied and strangely running towards him. Marcus charges at Justine. Shocked, Archer tries to intervene, but he pushes him away. Justine then bolts towards the store, and Archer attempts to stop him. But Marcus, filled with rage, turns and tries to choke Archer. Now let's follow Paul. He's on his patrol when he spots Justine waving at him, and he waves back. While driving, he notices a suspicious guy trying to break into a house. Paul steps in, and the guy takes off running, but Paul manages to catch him. The man introduces himself as James. Paul asks if he has anything sharp in his pocket since he's going to search him. James says no, and Paul begins his search. Out of nowhere, he gets jabbed with a syringe. Furious, he punches the guy, but then he realizes his car camera recorded the whole thing. He first takes care of his wound. After that, he goes to James and wakes him up. He tells him he'll let him go, but warns that if he sees him back at the police station, things will get worse for him. Paul then returns to the station and meets with the police captain, who happens to be his father-in-law, and fills him in on everything. He mentions that if the man doesn't file a complaint, it will be swept under the rug, but if he does, he won't be able to help him. He then meets up with Justine, and they end up spending the night together. When he returns home, he finds that his wife has come back early from her work trip. Noticing his guilty expression, Donna realizes what has happened. He heads back to the station, where he spots James approaching the police station. Furious, he curses and walks towards him. Upon seeing him, James takes off running. Paul, in his car, chases after him. Now let's dive into James' story. In the jungle, inside his tent, he's trying to score a good hit, but is having no luck. So, he ventures out looking for a place to rob, and crosses paths with Paul, leading to the incident. After that, he discovers Alex's house, and, thinking it's empty, decides to break in. He sneaks inside and grabs anything he can sell. As he checks things downstairs, he's stunned to find Alex's parents sitting on the sofa. He takes a good look at them, and they're completely still. He continues with his robbery and heads to the basement. There, he sees all the missing students standing frozen. When one of the students glances at him, he bolts out of there and locks the basement door behind him. Suddenly, the parents rise and move towards him. Terrified, he escapes. They shut the door behind him. Later, while selling the stolen goods at a store, he notices a poster about the missing kids, offering a hefty reward. He calls the police, but they instruct him to come to the station. So, he makes his way there and spots Paul. Running away from him, he enters the jungle, where he sees a strange woman waving at him. Scared, he hides in his tent. He notices someone approaching the tent, grabs a syringe, and stabs the intruder. But it turns out to be Paul, who's come looking for him. Furious, Paul drags him out of the tent and aims a gun at him. He then says that he knows the whereabouts of the missing children. Initially hesitant, James decides to check it out. They arrive at Alex's house, and Paul knocks on the door, when someone takes him inside. He doesn't come out for quite a while. Suddenly, he emerges and forces James inside the house. Here's the tale of Marcus. He's out shopping with his partner Terry when Justine calls him to check on Alex's house. While he's at the office, Alex's great aunt, Glattis, drops by to see him as Alex's guardian. She mentions that Alex's parents are unwell and she's taking care of them. Marcus brings up a concern regarding Alex's well-being, so he needs to check on his parents. Glattis asks if Justine was the one who complained, but Marcus stays quiet, so she invites him to visit the house. Marcus and Terry are watching TV at their home when the doorbell rings. It's Glattis, and she claims she's in a bit of trouble and goes inside the house. She requests a bowl of water, and they, feeling puzzled, comply. Then, she pulls out a piece of tree bark and cuts herself with it. As she covers the cut with her blood, Terry tries to assist her, but she snatches one of his hairs. She starts to bind the hair, and witnessing all this, Marcus attempts to call the police. But then she pulls out a bell and rings it, sending him into a trance. He breaks the bark, and suddenly, Marcus begins to attack Terry, smashing his head with his own. Glattis puts the bark in the water, and he stops. Next, she adds Justine's hair and performs the same spell. Marcus bolts out of the house to confront her. He is attacking Justine, and Archer tries to hold him back, but Marcus pushes past him and rushes into the store where Justine is hiding. Archer intervenes again. Justine escapes from the store and jumps in her car, but Marcus comes running behind her and breaks her car window. She speeds away from him. Archer comes out to see Marcus chasing after the car. He starts following them in his own vehicle. Out of nowhere, a car hits Marcus. Archer rushes out and finds Marcus's head completely smashed. Later, he's in a hospital recounting the incident to the police. When he finally steps outside, he spots Justine waiting for him. She expresses her gratitude for his help and shares her sorrow for her son, saying she's unsure of what happened to him. He then shows her what he discovered. Justine points out Alex's house, located near the intersection of lines. Now let's see Alex's story. After school, his dad picks him up and tells him that his mom's aunt is coming to stay with them because she's really sick. When they get home, his mom tells him to stay in his room since they need to go pick up her aunt. Later that night, he sees them arrive with the aunt. The next morning, he sneaks a look into the aunt's room and spots an old, sick woman staring back at him. He heads to school, but when the day ends, he notices his dad isn't there to pick him up, so he walks home. Upon entering the house, he finds his parents sitting there, completely still. He tries to talk to them, but they only respond with a few words. Aunt Glade shows up and claims they're fine, just a bit sick. She tries to sweet talk, but he snaps and splashes water on his dad, but there's no reaction. Glades angrily tells him to go to his room. The next morning, Alex comes downstairs and is shocked to see his parents in the same position as before. Glattis tells him to sit at the table. She warns him that when he goes to school, he mustn't tell anyone about what's going on, to frighten him. She performs the ritual with his parents' hair, causing them to hurt themselves. He tries to stop them, but fails when Glade submerges the root in water and they stop. She threatens that she can do much worse if he doesn't obey her. He takes the bus to school, and when he returns home, he finds Glattis in her room doing some ritual. She tells him he needs to feed his parents to keep them alive. He gives them canned soup and heads to the supermarket to buy more canned food for them. One day, he finds Glattis looking very ill. She calls him over and says she's dying. She thought his parents could help her, but it's not working out. When Alex asks how he can help, she tells him that if he brings one item from each of his classmates, she will get better. And once she's better, she'll leave them alone. The following day at school, while the kids are playing, he sneaks into the classroom and takes all the nameplates. Suddenly, Justine shows up asking if something's wrong. He says that everything's fine and leaves from there. After getting home, he hands the nameplates to Glattis. She performs her rituals with the nameplates and tells Alex to open the door. To his surprise, he sees all his classmates rushing towards their house. The next day at school, he finds himself alone in class. The police arrive to ask questions. Glattis hides his father's injury and goes to speak with the officers. She claims she's taking care of him since his parents are unwell. They relocate the kids from the house. As the police come to investigate, the police search but can't find anything out of the ordinary. Now, Alex is feeding all the students and his parents. One day, after returning home, he spots Paul standing still with James right behind him in the same state. He dashes to his room when Glattis tells him to gather his belongings. They need to leave soon. Before heading to his room, he warns him not to step over the salt line. He notices his parents are standing still in front of the door. He is in his room when he sees a car parked in front of the house. Justine and Archer are inside, contemplating their next move. When the house door opens, Paul steps out and invites them in. Justine, seeing Paul, tells Archer they should go in. They enter the house, and Justine accidentally steps on the salt line. James emerges and attacks Archer. Justine notices Paul charging at her and lunges at her. She struggles and runs to the kitchen. She tries to push him away, but he catches her and begins to choke her. Archer is fighting James, but no matter how hard he hits, he's still trying to attack him. Alex comes out of his room and decides to go into Glattis' room, but as he steps over the salt barrier, his parents rush in to attack him. Archer is tossing James aside, but James keeps coming back, and he shoves him through the basement door. Struggling, he notices the missing students in there. Meanwhile, Alex is also under attack from his parents. They're breaking his room door, so he runs from there. While in the kitchen, Justine starts to peel Paul's skin off to stop him, but it doesn't have any effect on him. So she grabs his gun and shoots him in the head. Archer is getting crushed by James when she arrives and shoots him. Archer heads into the basement, searching for his son among the students, when Glattis jumps on him and snatches his locket. Justine is checking on Paul when suddenly Archer shows up and starts choking her. Alex is fleeing from his parents and ducks in a Glattis room. He spots a piece of tree bark and takes it. When his parents break into the room, he hides in the bathroom and performs Glattis ritual. He finds one of her hairs and binds it. Glattis emerges to see Archer choking Justine. The moment Alex breaks the bark, she realizes and notices all the kids bolting out of the basement toward her. She dashes from the house with the children trailing behind her. She runs through people's houses with the children trailing her and wreaking havoc on their path. They catch up to her and start tearing her apart. With her dead, everyone is freed from the enchantment. Archer comes to his senses and again goes to look for his son. As he follows the trail of destruction, he spots the kids standing frozen around Glattis, and among them, he finds his son. He goes to him, but he is still silent. Justine goes upstairs to check on Alex. She sees him embracing his motionless parents. The young narrator explains that after his parents were taken to a mental health facility due to their condition, Alex moved to a different town to live with a relative. All the other kids were reunited with their parents, and some even began to talk again. That's a wrap on Weapons 2025. If you liked what you saw, smash that like button, drop a comment, hit subscribe, and don't forget to check out the other videos.